bring some credibility to the desk in Studio B now, because we know that we don't have a lot of that going on right now. Steve Cleveland, the former basketball coach, guru, and friend of the program, back in Studio B. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be with you guys.
All right. I want to get your opinion on starting the season big and getting ranked and being nationally relevant. And I know that we brought you on to talk specifically about college basketball, but I think this applies to all collegiate sports. How important is it for a team mentality to get off to a red-hot start and beat a big-name team early in the season? What does that mean for a program?
Well, I think the most important thing for those things to kind of happen, whether it's in the summer, spring, or whatever your sport is that you got to truly have an identity. And everybody needs to know what it is, and everybody needs to know what the team goals are. And I think sometimes we get in situations where teams come together, they have a variety of talent, and we're focusing so much on schemes, and we forget the most important thing is what's happening here with the mindset. Yeah. And when everybody on that team has that mindset, everybody knows that hey, this is where we want to be, these are games we need to win. It's different, and I think coaching staffs have a responsibility to develop that and nurture that. And it's not just positive, mindless thinking. It's like, hey, this is who we are, and this is how we do things, and this is where we're going to be, and this is where we want to be. And I think when you develop that mentally, then it has a huge impact on how you start a season. Rather than approaching it with, well, we're not quite sure, we're still developing players. No, we're not developing players. We're playing difference makers right now, okay? We're in the moment.
Yeah.
This isn't about, when we play Ohio State or whomever we're going to play down the road. It's right now. We're going to give it our best shot when we play Portland, and there's where we go. Big wins early really do help, and they get a lot of momentum, I think, confidence-wise for your team.
How does it affect the team and maybe some individuals when you are ranked before the season or not ranked, right?
I think when you are ranked, I think it's a matter of pride, and then I think it's a responsibility of the coaching staff to talk about what's expected. Yeah. Okay, we are ranked. People from the outside have observed this before we even played a game. This is what they think we're going to be. Do we really know who we are? Do we really know the kind of commitment we're going to make? Yeah. And I think sometimes coaching staffs fall short in that, and they don't help people realize what their potential is and reaching their full potential. So if you're ranked, you got to talk about it. Every time you're together as a team, you got to talk about it. You got to talk about your culture. Who are we? Constantly you're talking about that. And then by talking about it, you become that. Besides the fact that you got to have some talent, you better have some guys. Okay? But I don't think you're going to get ranked preseason by a group of people who are pretty knowledgeable about the game or whatever the sport is without having some talent and understanding that there's a pretty solid plan there.
I love Coach Psychology 101, right? Now, it's interesting because there are some coaches that want to turn their head and keep their players away from that. Yeah. It's impossible in our day and age, right?
You got to embrace it. Listen, especially you have to own it. And the younger generation, I mean, it may not apply to me and those that are in our 50s and 60s, but social media is so important. Yeah. And so whatever's being said, your players are exposed to it. And if you kind of put your head in the corner or you kind of try to be invisible and want to address it, you're making a huge mistake. You need to embrace it, talk about it, what are the expectations, so that when they get in situations when things aren't going well, they're going, oh, no, we're prepared for this. Yeah. But I think sometimes we just put our head in the sand as coaches and we feel like they don't know what's going on in the world, when in fact they know way more what's going on than anybody else.
Oh, we're off to a rip-roaring start.
Yeah. I was exposed to a little bit of it because right when I got done playing, Facebook, was just allowed, I think, with BYU Bronco, let that happen. And then Twitter started taking off. So we didn't get it as much, but we would still see articles and things like that. And we would be talking about it in the locker room. And then we would hear, some of the coaches, maybe Bronco, maybe somewhat speak about it, but it never really resolved it. And I think that then carried over to, divisions and you get some of the cancers.
And coaches by nature are a little bit insecure. Yeah. Okay, and nobody wants more expectations than we think we can handle or deal with. But you got to embrace that. And I'm not suggesting that it's false hope. Yeah. It's real, and you got to make it real. Hey, here's the steps. These are things we still got to do. Right. But man, you got to embrace that and talk about it. The more you talk about your identity, the more they talk about your culture, what your team goals are, the more people believe it. And once they start believing it, they act on it.
BYU basketball understands expectations. Yeah. We're talking about last year and probably unfair expectations set up by a lot of BYU fans, for that matter. If we're being real, with as young as that basketball team was, that there was a lot expected out of that team. And now one of the Lone Peak three, Eric Mika, is jumping to the NBA. So where do the expectations lie now for BYU basketball with Eric Mika going pro? And yet this team is still averaging 25 wins a season under Dave Rose.
Yeah, and Coach Rose has done an amazing job here in terms of consistency and having a plan and taking his talent and using it effectively. I think with this group, I think maybe even looking at the last 2 years, there has been a little bit of a disconnect in terms of players maybe and coaches being on the same page. Do they have the same connection? Yeah, you know what? I think it will reduce. Everyone will go, Eric Mika's not playing. Well, then probably we're not going to be quite as good as we are. There is no way you're going to let your team believe that. In fact, if anything, it's going to be opportunities for other people to step up. It's going to be able to catch people a little bit off guard. And the fact is, when you start looking at their personnel, it is a year older. It is better. And I think the coaching staff will be better. I think we've improved the coaching staff by bringing Coach Schroyer in here. There's going to be an attention to detail and preparation defensively as well as offensively. And I'll be honest with you, I really look for good things here. Not pie in the sky dreams. I look for really solid things to happen with this group because I think they're going to be really united and they're going to be really together. And I think the coaching staff over the next 6 months they're going to have an identity and they're going to have a culture that is going to be about them being united.
So for us as fans, I mean, what expectations, or I guess proper expectations, should we have instead of maybe like me in football saying that, that we're going to go, 4-1, 4-1 in September.
I don't even know how you do it in football being independent, to be honest with you. It takes a really, it's a different perspective, to be honest with you. I mean, you're not playing for anything, really, to be honest with you, other than pride and winning every game, and which is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. But when you're already in a conference, I think the way that you start with this, and I think the culture now has to be every year, we're going to try to win the WCC. That's our goal. Yeah. That's never talked about. Yeah. I was home, and I never heard one time have I heard anybody talking about winning the conference championship. I've heard talk about going to the tournament. Yeah. Heard about doing different things, beating certain teams, but never have I heard much about winning a WCC championship. So I think that's what you start. Yeah. And then from there, obviously, getting to the NCAA tournament. That's the barometer for the world, and those 30 days everyone pays attention to those 30 days, the tournament. But besides that, before you can get there, if you've got a really, really strong, solid goal, and let's win a conference championship, all the rest of that takes care of itself.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Now, we have looked at the numbers, and on average, it takes 16 wins and 2 losses to win the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga and St. Mary's, and BYU has kind of played third fiddle for the majority of the time they have been in the WCC. So can this team, given the departure of Eric Mika, but with a major cultural change with Heath Schroyer coming in and really bearing down and knowing that with Eric Mika leaving, we've all got to get better. We have all got to step up. Is this team capable of winning 16 West Coast Conference games?
You know what? I'm not going to look at it in that perspective. I mean, yes. If you don't believe that, who is going to believe it? Right. I think as a coaching staff, you feel like you can win every game. Mm-hmm. And whether it's realistic and we go and look at all the data and, do we have inside strength? Do we have experience here? Maybe not. But I think the perspective we take on this is this. Sometimes through attrition, you get better. All right. We talked a little bit about this last time. Yoli Childs had an opportunity to play a lot of minutes because of the unfortunate injury. Okay. But now he has an opportunity to really blossom and grow. And he's going to play in a situation where he's on the block. He's away from he's going to open the floor up. Coach Rose has been really good with guard-oriented teams. And I think he's in a situation right now where with the addition of this new point guard from Chipola, that I think you get a legitimate guy who's a point guard. I think that TJ and Elijah Bryant and they can play the point position. I'm hopeful that this young man can come in and makes the transition because now if he is the point guard and he can break down and create for others, then you got Nick and TJ, and I see Elijah Bryant maybe coming off the bench and playing 30 minutes. Yeah. Not because he's not good enough to be a starter, because it makes their team better.
Jashir Hardnett is the guy that we are all looking at, right?
Exactly. So I think you get in that situation, and then you take Zach Selius, who can play the 4. I met him the other day. I went to a missionary homecoming, and he was there up in Bountiful. I met him. Strong kid, 6'7", 6'7.5". You know what? He can't play the 3, okay? He doesn't dribble it well enough right now. But he can play the 2. He can play the 4. and you put him at the 4, you stretch, and then he works on the handles, but he can flat out shoot it, and then put Yoli. Those are your 5 or 6 best players. And what we try to do sometimes, we get stuck as coaches, is we try to figure out, okay, we got to have a 6'8", 6'9" here, we got to have a 6'8", 6'9" here, and we got to fill these spots. Play your best guys. Play your best guys and fit the system to work with them, and then go from there. I will tell you that those 3 young men that returned off missions, and Dastrup, who's returning, who probably have the most potential to help inside, somebody's going to surface from there. They all see an opportunity. And I think we're going to see a different Peyton Dastrup. I talked to Coach Schroyer the other day. He worked out 3 or 4 guys. And he said, I couldn't believe how excited they were to work out, And all of them text him and call him back and say, how about tomorrow? Okay, that's a change. Yeah. Okay, how about tomorrow? How about the next day? And when you get that kind of energy and that enthusiasm, guys get better. And I've always found, when I was a JUCO coach and Heath was with me, we spent more time working guys out than practice. Okay, because it just got us better, and that's an integral part to college basketball. I don't know how it is for football, but when a coach takes individual attention, takes you and goes, I'm not going to share some of the experiences, but he shared some experiences with me with players that he was surprised with the lack of confidence in their ability when he felt like they had great talent. So I think I think that's going to be a great addition to the staff.
The culture change.
Yeah.
That development.
So what do you think the reason for that change was? I remember something similar when I played at junior college, going from my freshman year to my sophomore year. We had a new DB coach come on board. Went to a D2 school, but had some opportunities in the NFL, had a great arena football career. And I was like googly eyes, like taking it all in, soaking it all up. What do you want? I'll do anything, doing these one-on-one sessions. And it literally took my game to a whole nother level.
I'm going to tell you why we were really good and built a program, because I had Dave Rose that would sit down with guys when behavior wasn't right or when they needed to pick me up and get in there or go work them out. When Heath Schroyer was doing that, when Nate Call was doing that, it was important to me with your staff that they have a relationship with the players. Yeah. You know what? I can't imagine having 80 or 90 guys, but guys mess up. Yeah. Sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they get down. And the head coach can't do all of that. You got to trust your assistants to take care of little issues. And you know what? And young people, old people, doesn't matter who you are, if they know you care and they know you love them and that you have their best interest, they're going to respond and they're going to do whatever you ask. Yeah. And I think somehow there's been some kind of a disconnect. And I can't say specifically because I don't know, just watching from the outside. I've just seen a little bit of a disconnect, and I think that's going to be recaptured. And I think guys, they'll get more out of these guys because they're passionate, they love their coaches, there's a unity there, and it'll make a difference. I just think that's the approach you have to take when 22 games isn't enough.
Yeah.
Crazy. But at the end of the day, there are expectations. And there are expectations here because Coach Rose has done such an amazing job, and he's had great success. But I think every once in a while, change is good in a staff. Every once in a while, change is good. You know what? These 4 bigs, one of them, they got to earn it. Yep. You can't have we're going to play this guy and hope no, you earn that position. Mm-hmm. You don't give anybody anything. And if they don't earn it to get on the floor, then you play 4 guards and go small and do the best you can there. Yep. But at the end of the day, they got to earn it. And so anybody thinks, well, I got a scholarship and I'm at BYU and what a great experience. Hey, I know you fall in love with the school and all that, but you know what? That doesn't get you any minutes on the floor, okay? Suck it up.
Preach.
Put the time in.
Preach.
Yeah, exactly. Put the time in, brother. Put the time in. We're not. This is not a holiday. Oh, my dream come true. I came to BYU. Right. Well, now what?
Yep, exactly.
How about getting your tail in the gym and work out every day? Mm-hmm. So I think those are the kinds of things that are going to make a difference with this team. And I think over time, it will instill confidence that these guys haven't played with before.
Are you not motivated right now?
I'm ready to go, man. I'm about to go to the next CFL tryout.
Can I say one other thing? I would really, this is a little, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Coach Rose has won 300 plus games. He had a system. He's done things certain ways. And things kind of got sideways a little bit the last couple of years and didn't maybe reach the potential that he probably would have liked. I've watched him, and I know him, and I consider him a really good friend. I'd like to see him take a more significant role with the offense in games. I'd like to see him be the guy, And it's not that coaches that have been there haven't done good jobs and had success. I'm not demeaning or disparaging anybody else.
Sure.
I'm just telling you, he is a bright coach. And I think the players will really respond to him if he's hands-on in the game, gets a little piece of them and does those things. And I know he can do that.
Dude, when Bronco took over, man, the defense, I'm telling you, same scenario.
It just matters.
Yeah, it does. It's a
Coach,
difference.
that was inspiring and fantastic. You're a man of many talents. We appreciate your time.
It's good to be with both of you.
All right, Coach Cleveland.